Hey y'all, good morning. It's Matthew Dibler here. Happy Friday to everyone. It is August the 21st, and I had some thoughts that I wanted to share with you this morning. Most of you know a little bit about me. Some of you have followed my journey for years, some over a decade. Some of you I've only met in recent weeks or months. I appreciate your support, every single one of you. What you'll know about me is that I stand as a voice of vulnerability, and that's probably very evident in the content that I create. In recent months, I've really gone open into my mental health journey. I've transparently offered stories about my past that some of which I actually kept hidden for decades. Others I had spoken about previously because understand my shares didn't begin, just over the last 6 months or so. I actually started blogging about my mental health journey back in 2011. And then I kind of went through seasons of sharing where I would be more invested in it than others. What happened here in 2020 is that when the pandemic began to unfold, I felt a broader calling to, more deeply invest in, really revealing the depths of my journey, because I understood that a lot of individuals were going to start facing some difficult times. I knew that quarantine and social isolation was going to have a devastating impact on the psyche. And so I had been to an agoraphobic state of mind years prior. I lived in that state for, I don't know, about a year of my life, and it was absolutely devastating. It was a deep and dark hole to climb out of. And so I felt inspired to share my experiences so that I could help others from, number one, going to that place, and if they found themselves there, that I could give them some of the courage and strength and techniques and you name it to get out of that hole, because it's not an easy one to climb out of. Now, along with that, I found that I was being called, in a broader sense, to be a light in the darkness. And so being a light, what that means is like standing in the face of evil, if you will. There was a lot of really dark things like circulating. I mean, it's not hard to see that our world is really in a trying time right now. Our nation is in a difficult time. And I wanted to be a message of hope. I wanted to be a beacon of light. And so as I began sharing the mental health story and feeling this calling, as a beacon of light, I was led back to my faith journey. And I'm extraordinarily thankful for that. My faith journey really began to unfold in the depths of my anxiety in that period of agoraphobia. The faith is what allowed me to pull myself out of that hole that I found myself in that season of my life. And so it was extraordinarily powerful, and it's what motivated and inspired a lot of my writing. It's what inspired me to get on my individual path to healing, but then beyond that, become a servant to others in the mental health community who needed to hear a story of redemption, who were seeking to find a purpose in their pain and suffering. And I'll tell you right now, there is one. I can assure you of that. In sharing more openly about the spiritual aspect of my journey as it related to mental health, I felt moved to dive deeper into that relationship with my Creator. And so I even did a 21-day social media fast, as a lot of you know, where I stepped away from the platforms where I was creating and sharing my content to really just spend some alone time with God. And I can tell you that that period of time in my life was just deeply transformational. I had experiences there that I could have never anticipated. And not all of them were just, sunshine and rainbows. Some of it was very difficult. Some of it um, really caused me to think in a much more, I don't know what the best way to describe it is, but to think in a much deeper, more grounded way about the Word of God. And it challenged me, it sharpened me, it made me a better believer. There were stories in that experience that are just things that never in my life I thought I'd see unfold. And so, in that, I felt drawn to a calling. Initially, when God placed that calling in my heart, I believed that it was just to serve, the mental health community, share my faith in the realm of mental health, and be a light for those who were suffering. I knew Jesus, and I knew that when he went from town to town, he stopped and he visited with people like me. Kind of the outcasts of society, the people that you could say were living a taboo type of lifestyle. He went to them and he spent time with them. He wanted them to understand who he was. He wanted to heal them. He wanted to give them hope. And so I always felt like there was such a piece of me that was attached to that, because that's truly how he ministered to me, and I wanted to be that for others. I wanted people who were feeling lost, who were suffering, to see the hope and redemption that God could offer, because that's what he did in my life. And so, in this period that I went through where I, took some time alone with God, events unfolded, like I said, that I couldn't have anticipated, and a story became clear that I needed to share. And so the calling then became bigger than just simply supporting the mental health community, that's still an aspect of my calling. But I felt moved to a purpose where I would write this story of mine and share it with the world. So when that came into my heart, that very same day, I opened a blank Word document. I had no outline, I had no notes, I just started typing. 3.5 weeks later, I finished a 190-page manuscript. All the glory be to God for that. It was him moving my hands, giving me the words. I couldn't have done that on my own. But I finished it, and over the last week or two, I've reviewed it, I've added some things, I've edited it, and now I'm ready to get it published. And now, as this voice of vulnerability, as I spoke about, I'm stepping into a place of vulnerability that I've never really experienced before. The mental health thing, which seems very taboo and difficult to speak about, that was actually easy. This is more difficult. I'm stepping into vulnerability as it relates to being a believer in Jesus Christ and sharing a story that is a reflection of his work. So it's not easy in this day and age, in the world and the environment that we live in, to openly share as a believer. So I do believe that this is my greatest moment of vulnerability. I'm seeking support from those who are willing to rally behind my cause and help me to align with the right literary agent or publisher that can bring this story to light, because I think it's a powerful one, and I think it's one that needs to be heard. It's very applicable to the times that we're in. I love you all. Thank you for your support. If you know any way that you can help me, I'd appreciate it.